As we welcome in Jeff Paterson, our Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver, and we've been telling you all week a live on-location program for RinkWide tomorrow, Saturday. Following the game, we'll have a watch party at Greta, doors at 3, puck drop at 4, and then moments after the final horn, Jeff will get busy with RinkWide Vancouver right there from Greta amongst the arcade and all the hockey fans and all the...
there might be some football fans there, too.
There might be some football fans there, too, having fun. Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, we think that by taking our show on the road, we're switching it up, and we are fully expecting that the Vancouver Canucks will follow suit. Now, they're in Toronto. That almost guarantees them a victory. Remember, last year, they got frozen out in Raleigh. They had to travel on game day. Everything was conspiring against them, and they went in and they shut the Leafs out. So it can be done. It might be done. Although the way the Canucks are going these days, I don't think there are a lot of people that want it, quite frankly, to be done. So yeah, we'll see what Saturday brings.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What was last night? Was that a hockey game? I'm unclear on the concept.
I've slept on it, kind of, and I've come to this conclusion, guys, that. Like, as vomit-inducing as it was, and it looked a lot like Buffalo and a lot of the other games since Christmas, we have to be careful here. Because ultimately, and I am on Team Tank, like, this is what we want. This is what we have signed up for. So there is, like, at the risk of being hypocritical in all of this, like, you know, you can carve the Canucks, but there are 39 games more remaining on the schedule. And that's the downside for a guy that hosts a post-game live stream and tries to break down what we've seen, because what we've seen, it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. But as you watch these games go by one, like, it is fair to wonder, is Brock Boeser ever going to score again? You know, what does Evander Kane do around here? And you can say, well, just focus on the young guys. And that's fine. And I think a lot of people will. But then you have to be prepared to have Zeev Buim have a tough night like he did in Detroit. That comes with the territory of being a 20-year-old finding his way in the NHL on a bad team. And so I think, you know, again, this is what people want. If they want the bottom to truly fall out for the Vancouver Canucks, there's going to be a lot more nights ahead that look like they did in Motown last night.
The one thing I'll ask Jeff, and the one thing we said following the game against Buffalo, particularly the defensive side of the puck, is for the most part this season, I think you can say Adam Foote's teams have played hard. That effort hasn't been an issue. This week, it looks like effort has been more of an issue than it has been in the past. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, falling behind the way they did in Buffalo, and sure, there was a little spark there that made it interesting for about 90 seconds in Buffalo, but let's not get lost in the fact that they were easily the second best team on the ice against the Sabres, and the same goes against a Detroit team that, you know, quite frankly, I don't think the league is talking an awful lot about. They're kind of lost in that shuffle in the Eastern Conference that changes from hour to hour, if not day by day. But the Red Wings are, you know, since December 1st, they're right there with Colorado, one of the best records in the National Hockey League. And, you know, I guess for me, that was one of the frustrations was this wasn't Dylan Larkin running the Canucks show last night. This wasn't Lucas Raymond or Alex DeBrincat running the show. I mean, those guys figured kind of in the scoring, but it was the middle of the Red Wings lineup that went to town. And again, that just exposes the middle of the Canucks lineup, and, you know, they just can't hold their own. And so, yeah, I mean, I know post-game the question was asked to pretty much everybody, you know, about frustration levels and the frustration that's seeping in, and Adam Foote doing his best to tamp that down. But I thought the coach was as short with the questioners last night as he has been perhaps all season, where generally he'll stand in there and answer questions and give you his perspective, whether you agree or not. That's another matter. But he'll stand in there and answer the questions. Last night, I think frustration was getting the better part of him as well, and whether that was being on the wrong end of history, watching the Red Wings win. Of course, you go way back to the Avs and the Red Wings. Maybe there's still some he harbors grudges. Who knows? Watching Patrick Kane get his 2 goals for 500, or just watching his own team try to defend. Again, I look at the second Detroit goal, the third Detroit goal. Like Tyler Myers, and we've spent lots of time talking about Tyler Myers, and we all have time for Tyler Myers, the guy, but how does the right side defenseman drift out to the left point in coverage? Like, to me, that was, if you needed a highlight to sort of underscore this Canucks season and the problems that they've had in their own zone, It's the wandering right side defenseman winding up marking Ben Sherratt at the left point while leaving JT Compher wide open. Like, it's inexplicable. And I was hoping somebody was going to ask about that post game. We didn't get that question directly, but it had me shaking my head then. And as I've watched the replay a couple more times, it's just completely nonsensical. But this is who these Vancouver Canucks are.
Have they had, which is the more logical explanation for that, a group lobotomy or a coach that just has a system that doesn't work? Is one of those two the options here that we're looking at?
Yeah, and to the best of my knowledge, no medical records suggesting that they've undergone the group lobotomy, so I'm going to go with door number 2, and where Philip Hronek seems to have grasped what this coach is asking. He is on an island, essentially. Yeah. Because it's been a struggle for Tyler Myers, but it's been equally a struggle for Marcus Pettersson all season long. We saw that. It took his 20th minor penalty last night.
Jesus. He's been terrible.
Yeah, and this is a guy that you had to have and then had to double down and had to sign right away to this lengthy extension. And for whatever reason, like, he was solid last year after the trade, but this year in this system, it's just been an adventure almost every night out, and it makes no sense, but it is one of the reasons the Canucks are where they are in the standings.
Well, let's just flesh out Pettersson for a second here. Marcus, because he's probably the least.
There's issues with all of them, honestly.
Guys, so fine, he's not an offensive producer, but it's 9 points in 43 games. Like, he's on pace for a 16, 17-point season. Yeah. His Corsi is 44.4. That ranks 22nd amongst Canucks skaters. And this is supposed to be a top 4 defenseman? Like, it's been shockingly bad for Marcus Pettersson all season long.
Right, and so last night was his 20th minor, which ties him for the team lead with Vander Kane, and they're both in the top 5 in the National Hockey League in minor penalties taken. Now, in Evander's defense, and I generally don't use that statement often, but Evander has curtailed the penalty taking. It's just that he exists and there isn't a whole lot happening in his game, where Marcus Pettersson and Tyler Myers have both sort of taken the mantle and run with it. And it seems like a nightly competition who can get to the penalty box faster between those two. And last night it was Marcus Pettersson. This isn't a tough team. And we've had that conversation too, right? We wondered about sticking up for each other and coming to the defense of Quinn Hughes when he was here or other players. This is not a tough team. It's not built for toughness. It was one of the reasons that Evander Kane maybe made some sense if you were trying to wrap your head around that move last summer. And yet they're among the league leaders in penalties taken. And it's generally stick fouls, and it comes from getting beaten and being out of position and hooking and holding and slashing and whatever. And we know that penalty killing's been an issue for them all season long as well. So that had to be on the whiteboard last night as one of the things to going against a Detroit team that's playing well, but they had a top 5 power play in the league, and you give them 3 power plays in the first period, including a 5-on-3. And of course they convert. And that came after the Canucks had their own power play 19 seconds into the hockey game and did nothing with it. So they had an opportunity early to get the jump they were looking for, but they've now given up the first goal in 8 of the last 9 games, and this team's just not anywhere close to talented enough to be playing catch-up night after night after night after night.
Especially with Rossi, Garland, Hedl, and Bluger still out of the lineup. How much of what we're seeing from guys like Pettersson and others is veteran, and Boeser probably too to some degree? These are veterans that are just like, how the frick did we get here? Like, they see this 39 games left or whatever there is, and they're just thinking like, we thought we were going to be vying for a top 3 spot in the division, and now we're here, 31st, and likely to become 32nd in the league. Like, do you think the veterans are just having a tough time wrapping around their lot in life here, as we're not even at the Olympic break?
Perhaps, but they also have to look in the mirror and know that they're a huge reason why the team is in shambles the way it is. And I guess for me, the frustration, and I had the discussion with Brock Boeser a week ago where he said all the right things, but nothing is changing in his game. Like, if you watch last night, it looked no different than a week ago. And he's the only guy that's going to be able to play himself out of this. And it's not even a slump anymore. I mean, it's kind of fitting his last goal came on Black Friday because it's turned into 6 weeks of Black Friday. But I want to, like, we sometimes we say this about guys, like, you got to step outside your comfort zone. And I'm not expecting him to drop the gloves and fight. That's not who Brock Boeser is. But throw a hit. He's a big enough guy. Like, just do something to get yourself into a game and out of this rut to some degree. It is a little surprising that Jake DeBrusk continues to feast at the trough at the front of the net on the power play, and Brock can't get a sniff there, where he has scored a lot of goals through his career at the net front. But right now, that's Jake DeBrusk's domain, and maybe Jake doesn't want to give it up. Whatever the case, like, Brock had 7 shot attempts and only 1 hit the net last night. I think that speaks to a guy that's struggling on the confidence level too, that just put pucks on net. Like, maybe one squeaks through a goaltender, but it starts by making a goalie make a save. And if you have 7 shot attempts, missing the net or having a bunch of them blocked, that's not going to help your cause either. So, I mean, again, it comes back to this idea of frustration. Sure, this is what, by no means, this is what any of them signed up for. But again, like, what's going to change? For the most part, the bottom 6 of the forward group and the young defensemen have shown all right. It's the top of the lineup that's been a problem. And I know, like, any criticism of Brock Boeser or earlier of Jake DeBrusk or even of Evander Kane comes with the caveat that they've just no centers. And it goes back to the end of last season, and they continue to pay for it on a nightly basis. Last night, guys, the Canucks had Kiefer Sherwood, their leading goal scorer, and Jake DeBrusk, their second leading goal scorer, playing on a line with David Kampf. Like, how can that make sense to anybody? And maybe that is the true tank. Maybe that's the sign right there that the tank is on. But to see your top 2 goal scorers play with a guy that it's just so weird that David Kampf can get to the NHL and switch off any offensive instincts that he had. Like, I know that he's never been a big point producer, but you get to the NHL by being a good player at every level along the way. I'm sure he has scored some goals at other levels of hockey, and he crosses the blue line, and it's like he just shuts off any offensive instinct that he has. And so I don't know how you can expect Kiefer Sherwood and Jake DeBrusk to find the puck in scoring positions if David Kampf is going to be their center.
And David Kampf has 3 points now, 22 games. If you called up any other player and gave him a 22-game run, and that's what he is right back down to the AHL. I find it. I don't care how good defensively he is. I don't care that he's erasing 30 seconds of game time off the clock. Like, I don't know how Adam Foote and the management group look everybody in the eye and say, no, we're good with that. Keep trotting him out with the top 2 scorers on this team. Like, it's
I hear you, and yet I wish there were guys down in Abbotsford that were pushing, but there are no options there. Like,
no, there's not.
Coming back, and Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, I guess, when he's healthy, but he's kind of gone into a hiding spot. Nobody knows what's going on with Lecker-Mackey. Apparently, he's skating again, but he's not playing. Hasn't played since Christmas for the Abbotsford Canucks. And you just look at Abbotsford scoring. Like, guys, the top scorers are in the teens, and we're into the new year now. I mean, it's just been such a forgettable season down there for so many reasons. But I wish there were a few guys that were pushing from below. But what you see essentially is what you get with this Vancouver Canuck Hockey Club. And one of the reasons they've lost 5 in a row and are sitting on 37 points.
They are 31st in the league as well, matching spot in the American League as the Canucks are in the NHL. How about that?
And Jeff, you're a student of Canucks history. Now, we won't age you. We know you weren't scribbling notes during the 71-72 campaign when they finished dead last in the National Hockey League. We all saw 2016-2017 when they were next to last in the league under Willie Desjardins. They were so in 89-90 as well. Those are the 3 worst seasons by Canucks standards in terms of the overall standings. They can be dead last again if Winnipeg were to win tonight. You tell me, sir, will this be the worst Canucks season of all time?
Well, I had to look it up. They do have 2 games left against the Jets. They are both right out of the Olympic break. In fact, in a 6-game stretch, the first game out of the break is against Winnipeg, so nobody will have momentum one way or the other coming off a lengthy layoff there. And then they're in Winnipeg the day after the trade deadline, so there are 2 still could be the games of the season there, I suppose. Will the Jets have won by then? What's going on in Winnipeg makes no sense, but we're not going to focus on them at this stage. Look, the way I look at this Canucks season, guys, is you can look at 37 points through 43 games and basically double it and say, sort of 74-ish points. But remember, they were 9-9-2 at the 20-game mark. They were 500 by NHL standards. So it's not as simple as just like rolling their midway mark over and trying to get a projection. Like I think you're looking at a team that's headed for somewhere around like 65 points this season, the way that it's going, especially if they start to peel off players and if there's a surprise trade in there as well. We know that they're struggling to score goals right now, and I don't imagine that that's going to get a whole lot better. And now all of a sudden, really since Christmas again, defense has become a massive issue along with goaltending. So you add it all up, and worst season ever, I think by points, probably not, but there is every reason to think that this team could finish dead last in the stands. You're right. Well, they are right there.
And go ahead. Finish.
Well, I just think I look at the Jets and I just think with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor having the seasons they do, Josh Morris, he's an Olympian. Connor Hellebuck's going to deliver them some wins at some point. They aren't as bad as that record and the rut that they're in right now, where the Canucks are what they are. And so I have to imagine that the Canucks struggles are going to continue. I have to also think that at some point Winnipeg is going to get some sort of bump that allows them to win even a few games along the way.
Yeah, and Blake and I talked about it earlier. Points is not actually a great historical reference here because of how the league has changed with loser points. And previously we had ties and stuff like that.
Size of the league.
Size of the league. So, we think actually overall standing in the league is probably a better barometer of
well, they've never had 31 teams in front of them either. So if they finish last in a 32-team league, that's the most.
Jeff, we had the conversation yesterday, and you mentioned the DeBrusk goal again. He's got 3 in 4 games. He's got 5 points in 4 games here in January. He's done very, very well since that healthy scratching, although he has been -2 in 3 of the 5 games since the healthy scratching. There was some smoke earlier this week about DeBrusk in Edmonton, and Dreger told us their Canucks are listening there. There's a world where they could get off the contract. What do you think? Does Jake DeBrusk make sense to stay through the dark days here? Or would Jake DeBrusk be someone you'd be looking at peddling? Reminder, he's got the no-move clause, so he does control his destination, at least for this season.
Well, it is kind of funny with Jake. I'm starting to wonder if the scoring run that he's on here is a product of the healthy scratch, or was it just time? Is this just Jake DeBrusk getting back on, one of his streaks in the right direction here? It looks like a response to being healthy scratched, and if that's the case, that's how you would want a guy to handle it and take it like a pro, and he's done just that. I'm starting to wonder if the conversation around Jake DeBrusk isn't being shaped by this power play production, that if there are teams that are headed to the playoffs looking and thinking, and Blake, you've made the point repeatedly, at $5.5 million for a 28-year-old, if all he does is cash in on the power play, there can still be value in that contract. And we know the value of special teams in the playoffs as well. He's a likable guy. He would fit in any locker room across the National Hockey League. There's no baggage there whatsoever. I'm starting to wonder if he wouldn't be an attractive piece to add. Now, again, he has some say on this, obviously, and controls the matter, but does he want to stick around and go through 39 more games of this season and whatever's to come? I'm not so sure about that. This is a guy that has playoff pedigree. He's played in a Stanley Cup final with the Boston Bruins. He's actually had some decent playoff success individually as well. So, before I was thinking, before Christmas, he was in such a rut as well. I hadn't really contemplated this, but all of a sudden when I look, you can say, hey, he's a power play merchant, and he is. The numbers back that up. But there's also an art and a skill to getting yourself in position and being open and available for those passes that are finding him. It's not just, he finds the loose pucks. He gets himself in a position that he's able to whack away and hammer those things home. And so many of his goals look the same. It does feel like a repeatable skill, whether it's here in Vancouver or somewhere else. So the fact that his name is starting to surface, not a surprise to me. And I do wonder if this is starting to catch the attention of others around the National Hockey League now that this guy just has a knack of getting to the right place on the power play. And if there are loose pucks to be had, he finds a way to put them home. So certainly a story I think that's worth monitoring here as we work our way through the month of January and obviously closer to that March 6th deadline.
And of course, he's, his roots aren't very deep here in Vancouver. He thought he was coming to a different situation than this. So I think you're looking at a guy who might be a little bit more willing to wave than most guys.
He got a little jammed last night. He still got that goal on. It was that was.
He's
a
good player. Yeah. He's not the player. As Dreger told us earlier in the week, his critics are like, okay, if only he was a little bit more well-rounded a player who had a little bit more utility, because what he is good, but people think he could be better than that. We shall see.
Adam Oates was in the corner there feeding him that puck. Or sorry, Kiefer Sherwood, who's getting assists now, guys. He's not scoring, but that was a really nice assist on the power play from Kiefer Sherwood. Is he keeping his value alive here with these few assists here of late?
I think teams around the league know what Kiefer Sherwood is, and where he made the mistake in Buffalo that led to the shorthanded goal. You have to keep some perspective that an acquiring team isn't looking for Kiefer Sherwood to be playing on power play one. Like, they're just not. That's not. And so, mistakes happen. It was a little unfortunate for him. Nowhere to hide because the Sabres race away and they score. And then even last night, late in the hockey game, where he does the toe pick and turns the puck over, you're starting to wonder if there's a little bit of frustration there. But I even go back to the Boston game where the Bruins score in overtime and he loses his check on the side wall. Again, these aren't things that we're used to seeing, but an acquiring team isn't likely to have Kiefer Sherwood out in the last minute of overtime. That's just, they're, good teams are going to bring this guy in. They'll have other players to do that sort of heavy lifting. I am wondering if all of this trade scuttle is starting to filter down to the ice, though, because, well,
the temper tantrums
was nice.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing things that we haven't seen from Kiefer Sherwood in his year and a half as a Vancouver Canuck, and you can totally understand if that is now playing with him. And enough of us on this side are saying, get on with it. Let's make some trades here. To hear your name on a daily basis in a different destination, I would think that would play some tricks on you as well. So he's probably wanting to get some clarity and reach, have this thing reach a conclusion. Whatever the case, he's getting power play time, and that's where the bulk of their goals are coming from right now. In fact, their power play has outscored their 5-on-5 production over the last 4 games. So great. If you're looking for silver linings, power play is working right now. And Kiefer Sherwood is a part of that with Rossi and Garland on the sideline. But one of the reasons most of them are in the minuses is because there's almost no 5-on-5 scoring. And so if you're not producing at 5-on-5, but you're getting outscored by a bunch, it's not going to look good on anybody.
Yeah. Last question here, because I know you mentioned they won that game under difficult travel circumstances versus the Leafs last year in Toronto. Is anybody worried they get embarrassed in Toronto? Like, the Leafs are 8-0-2. In their last 10 games. The Leafs are playing some of the best hockey the Leafs have played in some time. We know if there's one team...
6-2-2. 6-2-2.
Sorry, 6-2-2.
Yeah.
If there is one thing we know about Canucks fans is, while they may despise this current team, we do eat our own. They hate the Leafs even more. Is anybody worried like they get absolutely throttled tomorrow night?
They kind of got throttled last night, so it's totally
but
possible.
Getting throttled in Detroit is one thing. Getting throttled on Hockey Night in Canada and Toronto is another.
Well, there's a couple things. One is it sounds like William Nylander, who's missed 6 games, might be back in time for Saturday night's game, so that would certainly help the Leafs attack. But the Leafs just eked out an overtime victory in Philadelphia. I've thought that question a lot, Matt, through the season. I keep waiting for the Canucks just to have one of those nights where absolutely everything goes against them. They need both goaltenders, all that kind of stuff. We really haven't seen that for the most part. I almost wonder if Montreal isn't the more likely place for something like the Habs can explode offensively. Not that the Leafs don't have top end guys. Obviously they do, but I'm not feeling that necessarily. A day off for the Canucks. And then, hopefully they understand the stakes here as well. But Saturday starts 3-4 through 3 Canadian hockey markets. Obviously, Ottawa's got as many, if not more, issues than the Canucks do right now. So not have to worry so much about the Senators. But again, this Montreal team is revving on most cylinders. I think that's going to be a really difficult game for the Canucks, but they've got to get through Toronto first. So for whatever reason, they've had a ton of success against the Leafs over the last 15 years. The Canucks record against Toronto, particularly here in Vancouver, but this game's in Toronto, so maybe it doesn't hold as much. But for all the teeth gnashing and hand wringing of the 4:00 start and catering to the East, whenever the Leafs come here, it's almost an automatic win for the Vancouver Canucks. So we'll see if that applies as they go into Scotiabank. But yeah, Toronto, 3 weeks ago, Leafs were spiraling and everybody was calling for the coach and everything else. They seem to have figured something out there. So they're playing a lot better. And a big part of that is Troy Stecher. I continue to get a kick out of the reviews for Troy from Richmond. They just absolutely adore him and what he has been able to do since being plucked off waivers by the Leafs from Edmonton. So they'll see Troy and they'll see OEL. They won't see Chris Tanev or Dakota Joshua. They're out with injuries, but David Kemp, we talked about him earlier. Maybe this is his revenge game.
Yeah. So not. Tomorrow, Greta, following the game, 50 West Cordova, a live edition of RinkWide Vancouver from right there at Greta. Irf with you tomorrow?
He is there. Yeah.
Okay. Jeff Paterson, Irfan Ghaffar will post-game you. Pre-game starts at 3 at Greta. Puck drop at 4. We'll see everybody there. Jeff, thanks for this. We'll catch up next week.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.